Carroll to speak.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I sincerely hope that the councillors want this information. If they don't want this information, then they don't want to admit that we're making a decision here not based on an overall thirst for transit knowledge, not based on researching and following the example of other cities. We're making it purely on politics, and a politics that started a long time ago. My daughter's going to turn 30 this year, and 30 years ago was the plan that told us that all the employment was moving to Scarborough Town Centre. But there was a swap all of a sudden, and people started to realize that once you start moving to transit, by and large, the real thirst for square footage, if no matter where you build it in a city, once you have a built-out city, no matter where you build it, is $570 a square foot to $600 to $650 a square foot. People started looking at the downtown core, and lo and behold, square footage in the downtown core started to pick up. Globe and Mail moving back downtown, TELUS moving downtown, Coca-Cola moving downtown, the bank staying downtown. Because in 1986, when we wrote that report, it was because we had watched financial service centers all build their golden towers downtown, but also build massive data centers all around the inner suburbs and indeed the exurbs. Because that's what you did. That's what major corporations were doing. You went out into the outer suburbs and you took a massive amount of employees out there because you did everything on paper in those financial centers, then you bundled it all up in a bag, and trucks drove it out to the data center. You wrote newspaper stories downtown, and then somebody trundled it out to Vaughan and made a newspaper out of it. And so we wrote a report that said we should develop the transit along that business sensibility in 1986. And then it stopped making sense, because all of that changed. And we got a new report, and out of that report was generated, we need to move people around in the suburbs, and there is some employment out there, but the mass exodus of companies to build employment out there was now leveling off. And so what we needed was a grid of transit that would move people around the suburbs and into the core. And if you were going to build a city centre in Mississauga, and you were going to build one in York, and you were going to build one in Durham, you also needed them to travel long distances. They needed to be affordable, because they had a long way to go. They needed to become regional. And the way that modern cities are doing that is not by building expensive tunnels. So another line, yet another line under construction right now in Vancouver City. Fastest growing ridership in North America. Didn't start for much. There's hardly anything there. But they're using the new technology and the new types of vehicles and the new types of transit construction, because you can do so much more in exactly the type of terrain that exists in Scarborough. Whereas I wrote a week ago, my father lives now, my sister lives now. Where my grandfather died in the Scarborough General Hospital after living at Guildwood Seniors Home. Guildwood is a beautiful neighborhood, and it deserves access. But what we've been arguing about here is a political bitter fight that's based on, it's an adolescent fight. Overly political and completely adolescent. It is as if in a family where the children were born 10 years apart, we're now listening to a 15-year-old say, that brother of mine, I'm the afterthought in the family. But my brother downtown, you bought him a Walkman in 1986, and I demand a Walkman. I want my Walkman. My brother got one in 1986, but I could give you an iPhone 6 Plus with Apple Music in it. Wouldn't you rather have that Apple Music? No, because my brother got a Walkman in 1986. That is the argument we're having now. And so we're going to bypass what's going on in cities and countries all over the world over a bitterness that started in a political promise made in 1986, and we're going to ignore all that has changed in the interim. And for that reason, I'm sad, but I know the outcome today. But to the question the mayor asked me in the elevator, no, I'm sorry. I can't support this one. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Roughly a quarter.